Good morning.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
Back on the swing again. I just spilled coffee all over myself.
Yeah, our creaky swing that this mic picks up.
Every creak.
Every creak.
I like how we're just settling in, and then I go ahead and just dump coffee over
Spill coffee?
the shirt. Yeah.
Well, it's New Mexico, so it'll dry in like 3 seconds. Yeah.
I did spill coffee, ironically, on a shirt that says Portland, so I feel like it's just like a baptismal of this shirt, really.
Do you want to go throw it in the wash and I'll talk for a little bit, or?
Please do that.
Okay.
Just, just for good measure.
So, all right. So we're going to talk sports while Lindsey's gone. So sports. There are probably 4 sports in the United States that we love. The greatest of these, it is argued, is football. So football is a sport where there are 11 people on each team. Usually it's the quarterback that gets paid the most, and he gets paid multiple millions of dollars of money every year. They have, I think, close to like 16 games, and then if they're good enough, they go to the playoffs. Actually, I saw this on Reddit a little bit ago, and by the way, I'm starting to realize that Reddit is a really good place to get information. I mean, I knew that, but I'm starting to actually do it, like look at Reddit for good information. But I saw this on Reddit about how much money these sports professionals get paid per, like if you're a quarterback, per snap, or if you're a pitcher in Major League Baseball, how much money do you get per pitch, or if you are like a first baseman or an outfielder, how much you get paid per inning. You get the idea. It is ridiculous how many multiple thousands upon thousands of dollars these men make per inning. And that's kind of where we are as far as our country. We have these guys, and they are guys. No women really in these. I mean, we have you have the WNBA, but how much do they get paid? I would venture to guess probably not as much as an NBA player. But yeah, it's crazy amounts of money. But anyway, what else is there? There's baseball, there's hockey.
Are you serious?
There's what's the other one? Basketball.
Boring.
No, I'm talking about really cool stuff. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Sports. Those are the sports, all of them. Let's see.
I'm so sorry that whoever
hockey.
you are, you had to listen to that.
Trust me, they were intrigued. There's hockey. I forgot soccer.
I forget soccer.
Or football.
That's like the world's favorite sport.
Yeah. But Lindsey's back with a fresh syrup.
And a fresh cup of coffee, too.
A fresh cup of coffee. Don't spill that one.
Don't jinx me.
Yeah.
That's like when somebody's like walking in the dark in a room full of furniture, and you're like, don't trip, don't fall. I mean, not that happens to me. But.
Right. Yeah. But, yeah, we are sitting on our porch. Back porch. Is this considered a porch? I guess it is.
Yeah. This is definitely
Riley and Juliet are enjoying
It's more
breakfast.
of a patio, if you want to get technical.
A patio. Patio.
My grandparents, my grandma and Grandpa Freeman, my grandpa used to call it the Davenport.
The Davenport.
I don't know if that's like an older generation word or
It's a Lake Oswego thing.
Whatever. I don't know. It was just like he used to call it the Davenport, and I never understood that, and I still don't understand it. But maybe I should do some research on that one. Take it to the lab.
Yeah, that's something that's interesting.
I'm like, what is this? The Great Gatsby? Like,
you can look it up on the internet.
The interweb.
The internet
of information. The information highway.
Yeah. What is that term that people use sometimes? And I'm like, okay. Something about being online.
The interwebs.
No, it's like older generations say they still talk about things about like, are you online, or do you want to get online? I can't remember. I'll maybe think about it later.
Are you on the web?
You gonna surf the net?
Surf the net. I watched that movie like a month ago, The Net, with Sandra Bullock. And it was pretty funny, like, to see it, because it was made in, like, 1995.
Did you watch HBO Go?
Yeah.
Thank you to John.
Thank you, John, for letting us,
Have your HBO Go password.
yeah, you're awesome, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched the net, and it was just funny because they were still using, like, dial-up. But even so, like, in the movie, like, the person's knowledge, the character's knowledge of the internet was advanced for 1995. But I was just cracking up because I was like, wow, we've come a long way. Like, half the problems that she encountered in the movie, like, we wouldn't have today if they remade the movie.
Like, what kind of problems did she come in
Like
contact with?
no existence of Wi-Fi. Like, she had to go to a hotel and check into a hotel room and set up all of her, like, gear.
Like,
to get
inside a hotel room?
Yeah.
But was she on Wi-Fi, or was she, like, hardline to, like, a 56K modem or something?
She was probably hardline to a modem because it was, like, dial-up.
Was it like...
Yeah. So it was pretty funny because I was like, wow, she could have gone, like, anywhere else today and solved that problem, like, no problem at all.
Yeah.
It was just funny. And then, like, cell phones were still pretty, like, not a thing in 1995. Like, they were there, but they weren't, like, not everybody had them. So, like, she was, like, running around, like, running like a fugitive, and she, like, couldn't call the person she had to until she got to a payphone, and, like...
Wow. Talk about the movie for a second. I gotta retrieve a sharp object from Riley.
Oh, go figure. No, it was just funny because it's, like, I love doing that. I love watching movies that were made in, like, the 90s with technology and then seeing how far we've come. Because half the issues that they deal with, like, we would not deal with today. They've already been resolved. Thanks, tech support of the world. Yeah, it's just funny. Like, we have Wi-Fi. That solves some problems. Our cell phones are, like, with us all the time. Even homeless people have cell phones, which is crazy. Thanks, Obama. And
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama. No, seriously, thank you, though, because I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, it's a necessity in our time.
Sorry, I used to work at Goodwill, and we used to get people enrolled for their Obama phones. We had a lot of clients that were homeless, and transient clients and populations, and we'd get them enrolled for Obama phones, and people would be like, well, they're homeless, why do they need a phone? And I'm like, that's exactly why they need a phone. Like,
because you need it to survive?
Well, no, I mean, a lot of people that are homeless deal with mental health and health issues, so that helps them, get their appointments, confirm their appointments, get to the services that they need. It makes it so that you can reach them, because a lot of times you'll call them to remind them about something or to get them enrolled in something, and their phone's disconnected because they can't afford to pay for it. Or their phone number has changed, or yada yada. So it's like, with that population, you can almost guarantee that, like, if they don't have an Obama phone, they're going to be really hard to get a hold of, if at all.
Right.
It's a wasted effort. So that was a really good thing, and I don't know why people
are naysayers.
Yeah.
Because they want them to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and learn. What is it called, where you can communicate? No, communicate with your mind.
No.
Telepathy.
No. No, hot. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's recap what just happened. I have the coffee pot out here because I was filling up my coffee, and my 2-year-old just grabbed it and tried to pour it for me.
That's fine.
Holy smokes. Another heart attack of the day here at the Dominguez house.
So, talking about internet and cell phones and stuff, I just want to talk a little about technology.
Yeah, go for it. That's your forte.
So,
your ex-tech support.
2007, I think, or 2008, I didn't have a smartphone, but I did have a second generation iPod Touch that I would carry around with me, and it connected only to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And I had
you still have it, don't you?
I actually do. Yeah. It's like iOS 4, I think, or something like that.
You should probably save that in 50 years.
Yeah. I also have my original iPod Classic that I got in college.
You should sell that when we're old for retirement.
Maybe. Be a vintage thing.
Yeah. Our grandkids will think it's super neat.
They probably would. So, don't worry. He's fine.
I don't trust him. He's 2.
Well, let me put this up then.
Okay, thank you.
So the iPod Touch connected to the internet, and sorry, this is awful audio because I'm just kind of babbling, and we're doing all kinds of stuff around here. Yeah, he's gonna eat it,
I don't even care if he eats it. I'd rather him do that than dump hot coffee on himself.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, I feel like we've made progress this week.
Okay. So I would carry my iPod Touch around, and I used to deliver pizzas in college. So I would basically, and this is before people got caught on that other people could steal your internet connection. So nobody's internet connection was password protected. Not nobody, but there were some people whose internet connection was not password protected.
Right. Well, it wasn't a necessity at the time.
Right. I would carry 2 devices around. I had my little Samsung. It was my favorite phone of all time. It's a Samsung wafer, super thin, but it was basic cell phone. You text and call.
Wasn't that like the first generation that wasn't a flip phone? It was kind of like...
It was just a flat phone. Yeah. Like they call it the candy bar style.
I remember.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, candy bar. Wow.
That's what that's what my iPhone is that I'm holding right now that we're recording this on. It's a candy bar style. So I had that, which was super thin, and then I had my iPod Touch, which I would go around and, if we were at bars or something, I would connect to the Wi-Fi, and I'd be able to...
I'm surprised bars then even had Wi-Fi.
I remember a sister bar had Wi-Fi.
Oh, well,
and I remember...
awesome. Way to be progressive.
Yeah. So instead of having an iPhone, because iPhones were expensive and you had to buy the data plan, I had my iPod Touch 2nd generation and my, what do you call it? Mm-hmm. So, anyway. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just fascinated, and I'm listening to you, but I've been trying to get birds in our yard, like literally all year. We used to have tons of birds in our yard.
Well, we have dogs.
Yeah. Well, and we had these little chickadees, like the first year we lived here, that had babies, and there was like little chickadee babies everywhere, and actually one of them fell onto our Davenport. And Luke and I went ahead and picked him up and took him to the nature reserve here so they could rehab him and let him back into
nature. That was
nature.
like 2-3 years ago.
That was like 3 years. It's like 4 years ago.
Well, Luke's 5, so...
Yeah, it was like 3 years ago.
I'm going to say 3 years ago.
So it was pretty cool. But yeah, I've been trying to get birds back in our yard, and for whatever reason, they just haven't shown up. But all of a sudden, here they are. I'm such a weirdo. I love bird watching. I don't have binoculars, and I haven't gone on a big ear or anything like that. If you don't know what that is, definitely look at it, because it's kind of funny. It's like the Olympics for bird watchers, when you go on a big ear. I think there's even a movie about it. I'm not that hardcore, but I definitely enjoy watching nature like in that way. I think birds are graceful and sweet, and just fun to watch. So, side note about my hobbies and interests, not that anybody cares, but I've always liked birds, and we have a bird feeder here and a bird house that we built, and trying to attract them to our yard. They're just little guys. They're cute. They're not like the annoying like pigeon birds that poop on everything. Oh my gosh. Okay, we got to fix this.
Or stop moving. That's one thing.
I can't stop moving.
So do you want to get into the nitty gritty and stop talking about birding?
The nitty gritty.
People don't want to hear about birding.
All right. Well, that's fine.
Maybe.
It's okay.
Maybe some people do.
I just told them to look up what a big year is.
Maybe Mr. Tewald from Highland High School. Hey, Mr. T,
what up,
if
Mr.
you're
T?
listening, he loves birds.
I do too.
And we were up in the Sandias, and let's talk more about birds, actually.
Throw a bird on it.
We were up in the Sandias, and I was like, "Oh, check it out! It's a cardinal or something." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's not just any cardinal. It's a blah 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 such and such cardinal." I'm like, "Oh, cool, Mr. Tewald, do you like birds?" He's like, "Yes."
He's like, "Nope."
He's like, "Yes." No, he's like, "I hate the little bastards."
I just happen to know everything about them.
Flying around like they're all happy.
Pooping on stuff.
Yeah. So, here, talk about birds more.
Okay. Well, I don't know Mr. Tewald personally, but I did hear this story, and it's pretty funny because Lorenzo was amazed by his bird knowledge. I feel like in New Mexico too, like because of our climate, we're like a high desert kind of climate. You have to kind of be in the right place at the right time to see some awesome birds. We have these little, I don't know what they are, but they're bright yellow. They look like canaries, honestly. But they're wild, and they're these little bright yellow birds that show up around summertime. It's always fun to see them because they're just like neon, and then you see this like little neon thing like flying over your head, and you're like, oh, that was a bird, cool. So it's kind of neat, but I don't know. We have some interesting nature here. We have roadrunners too, which, yeah, that's not just on the cartoons, it's real. They're not as like majestic as they're made out to be, though, I don't think. I mean, maybe I'm not a New Mexican natively, so.
Okay, I'm back.
Roadrunners? What's your thoughts on those? Are you into roadrunners? What do you think about
I think
them?
they're more majestic than they're made out to be.
Oh, therein lies our difference of opinions.
The Looney Tunes Roadrunner is not at all what a Roadrunner is like.
I always thought they were bigger, like as a kid, because of the cartoon and because I had never seen one. I always thought that they were bigger.
Well, do you know what Roadrunners eat for lunch?
Lizards
and dinner,
right?
Lizards, yeah, but they also eat rattlesnakes.
Awesome! I did not know that.
Have you ever seen a video? So if
That's way cooler.
If you have not seen a video of a Roadrunner killing a rattlesnake, Google it.
Dude, mad respect for roadrunners all of a sudden. Like,
Here's what they do.
idea.
They're really fast and nimble and quick.
Nimble.
What they do is they will grasp the rattlesnake by the neck, and they will like body slam its head with its beak onto the. And I was just doing the neck motion.
So it's like the WWF of the bird kingdom.
Yes.
Wow.
Seriously, roadrunners are ruthless.
That's awesome.
And that's how they basically knock the snake out and like.
And they eat it.
And then they eat it.
How would you even like? Are their beaks really pointy? Like
their beaks are really pointy, but they grab them with their beak and then they just slam it, and then they swallow the thing whole.
So they're actually pretty carnivorous. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's all they eat. They're predators.
Wow. I had no idea. Like I really just thought they were like dumb little birds that eat crickets and sometimes lizards.
If you want to know like how a dinosaur behaved, look at birds. Seriously, that's what paleontologists do. They look at how because dinosaurs are super closely related to birds.
Well, they just found something a couple years ago that was like preserved in amber,
mm-hmm.
and it was the tail feathers of a dinosaur, and so it was able to confirm that a lot of the early dinosaurs had feathers rather than scales.
For sure,
is interesting.
Yeah.
So birds are awesome.
Yeah,
Let's just throw that out there.
Birds are awesome.
Birds are super awesome.
So why do you believe in God?
Whoa. That escalated quickly. Jesus, the Bible, God. Is that the Sunday school answer you want to hear, or what?
A lot of times I do get the Sunday school answer when I start going when I start going into like really deep rooted questions. Like nobody gets it.
I was not prepared for that. I feel like I just got hit over the head with like some hardcore like life changing theology.
Let me preface.
All right, practice easing into that question because we went from like bird predators to dinosaurs.
Lighthearted, so yeah.
Yeah, whoa.
All right, so.
I feel like my mind has been violated a little bit.
I'm sorry, mind.
So okay, let's start with. So where did that come from?
That's what I was just gonna say.
Oh. Okay.
I listened to my good friend and confidant, Joey Svensson. We talk every day. Well, he talks every day at least, and I listen.
AKA you listen to his podcast.
I listen to his podcast. It's called The Pastor with No Answers. And it got kind of boring. I'm just going to say year 2 a little bit. But year 3 has gotten really interesting. Some pretty cool topics. And I'm not going to say it was boring year 2. It was interesting year 2.
I like the title of the podcast.
There was this other podcasts that...
super honest.
Yeah, super honest. There were some other podcasts that got my attention a bit more than The Pastor with No Answers. I can go into that, like all the podcasts I love, because there's a lot. But in this series, it's like a series. He just asks different people, like, why do you believe? And I thought that was pretty interesting because if you are a Christian, that's a question that you probably don't really ask yourself very often. I mean, or maybe you do. I don't know.
I think people go through phases where they ask that question, but I don't know how deeply they actually explore the answer.
Yeah. You can ask yourself why, fill in the blank for all these other major things too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you in the career field that you are in? Or why are you waiting to have kids? Or why did you have kids? I mean, you can't take back having kids, but you can definitely try to answer these big questions for yourself.
You can define who you are and the choices you've made most of the time.
Why are you a Democrat? Why are you a Republican? And those are questions people don't really ask themselves until they get to a point where they have to ask themselves, and that's usually like when they're under pressure.
Well, I think we all as human beings go through a phase of self-reflection. It's usually when things get difficult or hard or
in your mid-30s.
Yeah. Or you're posed with something that challenges that school of thought that you believe in so deeply.
Yeah. So that was a podcast, and he had Zach. The one I was listening to was with Zach Bolden. He's from King's Kaleidoscope. Mm-hmm. Or no, not King's Kaleidoscope. It's the other one. Citizens.
Oh, yeah.
Used to be called Citizens and Saints when they were Mars Hill, and then Mars Hill crashed and burned, and then they just are Citizens because Citizens and Saints was copyrighted by Mars Hill. True story.
I actually really like their music, and I am not like a worshipy music kind of person like at all, but their music is pretty good. Yeah.
There's some really good songs.
Well, there's some artistic aesthetic there.
Yeah.
It's not just like cheesy.
Yeah. Album 2 didn't really catch me. Album 3 was good. Album 1 was, I think, the best.
Side note, like we always do, I've noticed that bands, typically, their second albums kind of are terrible.
Yeah.
But it's like 1 and 3 tend to be really good. It's like 1 is defining the band.
Mm-hmm.
2, they're like, it's like filler. Like they're trying to
Like, what'd you think about Neon Bible? Arcade Fire, Neon Bible.
That's not a fair question, because that was, okay, I went to Panama, and I forgot my music. So at the airport, at the Dallas airport, I ran to a music store before my flight, and I literally, like, chalked up way too much money for, like, 3 CDs, Neon Bible being one of them, because I was like, I have to have some Arcade Fire on this trip or I'm going to die.
It's a good album.
Yeah, it's a great album. So had I not had that album all summer long for, like, 4 months straight, I would have probably said, it's okay. But because I had the chance to really listen to it and really listen to the lyrics and really, like, analyze it, I really like it a lot. Mm-hmm. It's a commentary.
You were able to spend more time on it.
It's a commentary on North American religion, and it's done very well. And the whole album was actually recorded in a church in Canada, so the acoustics are all inside a church. It's interesting, but people don't know that. So when you add that information to it, you're like, oh wow, this is an incredible album. Like, it's amazing.
See, that's a good point on music. I know we're super in a rabbit hole right now, but I'm just going to keep going with it. With music, for me at least, I have to really get to know an album before I'm really attached to it. So very rarely will I listen to an album one time through and I'm like, man, this is like the best album ever. Usually I'll listen to it one time through and I'll be like, it's okay, whatever. And then second or third or fourth time, and I start to get a little bit more attached to it. So I think that's the best way to listen to an album, the way you did. You were basically forced to listen to this album, and it probably means a lot to you. You probably associate it with being in Panama.
A lot of sentimental value to the album,
yeah,
for sure.
So,
well, the crazy thing too about music is that it's art, and sometimes we look at it as entertainment, which it is, but we forget that it's art.
Right.
And so, like, you're listening to somebody's artistic expression about a topic or about a moment in their life or about something that struck them really hard. And then if you look at the artist and you look at the context of what they're writing about or singing about, sometimes if you take that actual time, it can put more meaning and more value and more, like, it can put a little bit more into the actual music than just what you're hearing.
Right.
You go to an art museum, you find a painting that you think is cool. What do? You sit and examine it. You look at the artist, you look at when it was made, you look at the materials it was made with, you sit and ponder it, you look at it from different angles, you look at the color scheme, yada yada. It's the same thing with music, it's just you're doing that with your ears and you're doing that.
It in.
Right, and so I think that it's important to not forget that music is art.
Right.
So
yeah,
anyway.
So that was a pretty intense rabbit hole. But let's get back to it. Like, do you want to answer? Like, why do you believe, or do you want me to go?
No, I mean, I can answer. It's not really anything, like, crazy. I hear my phone ringing inside. That's okay. I definitely, like, my story is unique in that I didn't grow up necessarily, like, I wasn't raised as a small child in the church.
Maybe why do you still believe?
Why do I still believe? Okay.
But yeah, you can, I mean, the brief history, like you...
Yeah. Well, okay, so I wasn't raised in the church. I decided at 7 that I wanted to go to church. I had a friend in Portland, her name was Amanda, and she went to a church, and we had our little brownie Girl Scout meetings there, which I hate brownies, by the way, but
You love brownies.
I love the food. I don't like the organization.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's where we had our little meetings for brownies, and she was telling me about, this is my church too, and I remember thinking, like, church? Like, what's that? How come I don't go to church? Like, am I missing something? Like, am I missing out on something? And so I asked my parents, like, how come we don't go to church? Like, could we go? Because I was just curious, I just didn't understand, and I wanted to...
So it's part of your culture. Other people in your culture were doing it. You wanted to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
That's the same with me with catechism growing up in Santa Fe. But
anyway, yeah. So we went, and then kind of started going. Just, I think my parents probably enjoyed the company and meeting other parents at the time. I mean, they were probably about
your parents age. Are super social.
Yeah. So
that's a good quality that they have.
Yeah, they enjoyed that. So, and previous to that, I should say, like, my brother had cancer. And I remember, this is really strange because I have, like, a vivid memory. I remember being in the hospital in Seattle with my brother, and they had called in the chaplain, who was a Catholic priest at the time. I was probably about 4 or 5 when this happened. He had leukemia. They didn't think he was going to make it through the night. My parents were not religious, so they didn't really understand the ins and outs. I just think that they wanted to kind of like safeguard things in case my brother did pass away that night. Mm-hmm. So I remember the chaplain, the priest, bringing in this little pink tub. They're little hospital tubs. They probably still use them. Really ugly, like Pepto-Bismol color pink tubs. Mm-hmm. And I remember them baptizing my brother in the hospital room with the priest there. And it was more of like I don't even think that they really at the time understood what it meant. I think that they just wanted to make sure that he was like covered.
Right.
You know, it was culturally like, well, we should probably do this just in case. Like, it's the right thing to do. So my brother was baptized, and he didn't pass away. He actually ended up getting better.
And he wrote a novel.
Yeah, he did.
By the way, if you love fantasy...
He's a fantasy author
He's a fantasy author, and he wrote, I think, a really big book that is bigger than any book I've ever read.
Yeah.
Let alone write.
It's called Rainspell.
And then he wrote a novelette, what's Isle of...
The Grey Isle.
The Grey Isle, and then he just wrote a short story it's about your dad and your grandpa, Freeman.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Called The Trombonist.
I think so.
So, side note, that's okay, it's just water.
Yeah.
Look up Ryan P. Freeman on Amazon. Anyways.
Yeah, you can order it if you want to. He's got a fan page, and he does a lot of writing workshops and things like that. So, anyway, needless to say, my brother was healed, and he was one of 6 people at the time in the late 80s that had a bone marrow transplant. At the time, it was considered like experimental, so it's commonplace. People have bone marrow transplants all the time, but at the time, my brother was one of 6 children to have it, and only 2 of them survived. My brother being one of them, and they don't know why. They don't know why it worked. They don't know why he and the other kid survived. They don't really understand. They have no idea why. Every 6 years, he has to go up to Seattle or fill out a giant packet of paperwork.
He does still?
Yeah, for his health. I think now it's just the paperwork. He doesn't have to go up there, but it's follow-up. It's for research. But yeah, so it's interesting because that was my first kind of like exposure to like miracles and things that happen with no logical scientific reason. Mm-hmm.
Although, could a skeptic explain away those miracles?
Maybe. And that's the thing. Oh, your daughter's mad. They don't have an explanation. And I'm not saying there isn't one scientifically, but the chances of him surviving and being in remission for 20 plus years and not having another type of cancer are pretty incredible. So that has a little to do with my faith, but also, there have been times where I know God is there, and I know he's around, and he makes himself very known. And it's very personal. I had a stranger come up to me one time when I was 22. I had a crazy kegger of a birthday party when I was 22. Everybody got super hammered, super drunk. I was hungover for like days. I probably had alcohol poisoning. It was terrible. I got really drunk, and I was so sick. And I just remember I was like 22 years old, and it was like party this, party that. Like, I'm going to live it up, and I'm going to go hard or go home. Like furniture in the pool party. Like, it was just crazy.
By the way, I'm sorry, but drunk history. Party this, party that.
Yeah.
I'm going to live it up or
go hard or go home.
Go hard, go home.
Yeah. Well, we did watch a Michael Cera movie last night. He was not in a wig, but it was still Michael Cera. So anyway, I had this crazy party, right? And I thought, oh, life is good. I have so many friends, and like, I can do whatever I want. And this is great. And then a few days after I got over my terrible hangover, I was working.
A few days, wow.
It literally, no, seriously, it was like 2 to 3 days. I probably had alcohol poisoning. It was pretty bad. I was at work, and I was driving, and I got into a crazy car accident, and I shattered my kneecap.
Was this here or in Portland?
This was here. I was driving home from a work site, and I shattered my kneecap. I ran into a Jeep. I was 2 feet away from my car. Well, my car was 2 feet. Had I gone 2 feet further into the back of this car, the 2-year-old that was in the back seat would have been ejected out of the car and died.
So do you think this was like a miracle that causes you to still believe, or?
I think that God spared me a lot of heartache, but I definitely think it got my attention. I was holed up in my house because I had knee surgery. I couldn't walk. I couldn't go anywhere. I was on some serious painkillers. I had to have knee replacement surgery again. And it was just crazy. Like, I remember during that time, I had one friend who came and kind of took care of me and visited me, but the rest of my quote-unquote friends that were my drinking buddies, like, nobody showed up. Nobody cared. And that was really hard. I remember just feeling alone and empty. And then one time, like, during that time, I was at the store with my mom, like, trying to get back into walking. I was on crutches still, just doing, like, rehab and things like that. And this lady came up to me. It was crazy. She handed me this red piece of paper. And I'm not saying that religion is mystic like this all the time. This is just what happened to me. This lady handed me this red piece of paper, and it was a letter. And she said, God wanted me to give you this. And I remember thinking, whatever, crazy lady, you're nuts.
That's what I would have said.
Like, whatever, crazy. But I was so lonely, and I was so sad, and I was like, whatever, I'll just read it. Maybe this lady just feels bad for me because I'm on crutches. I don't know. So I opened this letter, and it's literally like... It was literally like, I can't even explain to you, like, how personal it was and how deep it was. And even the words, there were words in there that I had specifically been, like, thinking of in my head, like talking to God, asking God some questions, being like, why would you let this happen? Like, what kind of a God, like, takes away people's friends and destroys their body and, like, allows this to happen? And there were certain words that I was, like, I had been talking to God with that were very specific. And they were in that letter and, like, addressing exactly what I had said to God. And it was from a complete stranger.
It was like a response to your questions.
And it was weird. I still have it. It's, like, falling apart, actually. It's in my wallet. It's a little red piece of paper. I've had it in my wallet
What did it say?
Years and years. I really don't want to read it because it's very personal.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'll read it to you, but I'm not going to read it on here. But it's very, very personal. And
what the red piece of paper said on it was personal?
Yeah.
It addressed, like, specific things?
Yes.
Huh.
It was crazy. Like, I've never literally had someone hand me a piece of paper and be like, oh, by the way, this is from God. Here's all the answers to your questions.
That's pretty cool.
And so I have this piece of paper still. It's falling apart, actually. I need to tape it, but it's been in my wallet for years and years.
So it's like things like that. There have been miraculous events, I mean, that you can account for.
But it's not even like huge miraculous things. It's like God reminding me that he's there. Even when I feel like he's not, even when I feel like I am alone, it's like a reminder, like, I'm still here. Just because I'm not doing what you want or I'm addressing things in the way that you want doesn't mean that I've forgotten about you or I've turned my back on you. I'm still here.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
That I would say that letter was probably the one thing in my adult life that kind of, like, made me go, holy crap, like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So can I talk a little bit now? By the way, thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I think I've heard bits of that story, but it's good to be reminded of those types of things from each other, right?
Yeah, of course.
So for me, oh, hang on. I got a 2-year-old.
Covered in chalk.
Yeah, wants to be cuddled.
Needs to be cuddled.
So for me, that's a hard question. So a little bit of the background for myself. I was brought up in a Catholic environment, not in any way culturally Catholic, like not in any way practicing. I didn't go to mass. I was baptized as a baby, for sure. But I didn't practice as a kid. I wasn't an altar boy. I didn't do catechism. I wanted to go to catechism with my friends. But fast forward to age 9, my parents moved me from Santa Fe to Moriarty. And in Moriarty, we then were fully evangelical Pentecostal Christians.
But how do you make that transition? Like, how did that happen?
Well, we were just, that's what it was. My parents converted to basically not really believing in anything, to believing, like being, oh, you're ringing again. So I'm going to pause because I want you to hear this. So I'm going to hit pause on the phone.
Sorry.
We are going to have a short break. Well, it's not going to be a break for you because I'm going to pause it here. or I can just keep talking about sports. So, sports. There are a total of 5 sports altogether. No, there's probably more. I do want to talk more about my story, and I'm going to, but Lindsay's getting her phone. Juliet's crying. These are the types of things that happen in a parenting situation. And I'm just gonna keep talking. Why not? Let's do that. So what else is happening? Well, I have a good dog. I have a good 2 good dogs. Penny. Let's talk about Penny. Penny is a very sweet dog. She is a Manchester Terrier, we think. She's very slender, very quick on her feet, very nimble. She's very fast. She has a long stride and she can run very fast, like super fast. And then she can also leap very tall objects. For example, a 6-foot tall wooden fence that we have in our backyard. She has no problems leaping over that fence and coming to our front yard and scratching on the door to let her in, because she doesn't like to be in the backyard alone. She's a very social dog. She likes the attention. She likes to be talked to. Right now she's looking at me with, how dogs do with their puppy dog eyes, and she has her ears back like like the submissive dog type of ears, how they do that. But she's very sweet, aren't you, Penny? And she likes to talk to me too. Sometimes when I come home, I'll howl a little bit, and then when I start howling, Riley starts to howl, and then she starts to howl. So that's Penny. Diego is a mixture of Dachshund and Jack Russell, which is a weird mixture because he has the energy of a Jack Russell, but the short stubby legs of a Dachshund. So he's I don't know if you want to call it a curse, but that's what it is. All right, so I think I'm done talking about dogs, and I'm actually going to pause this because I do want to get back to my religion story. Oh, here's the door. I hear Lindsey coming through. What's up?
Hey, so welcome to our life. My mom called twice because she got locked out of the house and couldn't bring Luke back. So my dad just came and unlocked the house. She has to go to work, so I'm gonna go pick up Luke at CareNet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my dad just came to unlock the door, but now she's late to work, so I just told her I would go pick up Luke at work.
Okay.
My parents have our son, or had our son for the night,
okay.
So I have to go get him.
Should we wrap this up later?
Yeah, let's go ahead and pick this up in a little bit.
Well, I'll just end it here, and we'll do another episode.
Part 2 coming.
Part 2, my story, next time. All right. Talk to you later.